across the country, as well as in Puerto Rico and DC, a network over 117,000 students and over 600 NAF academies across almost 400 schools. And I loved how Najma framed that, when we think about being a coalition of the willing, folks coming together to the table to find solutions for students, many of our efforts are hopefully going in the same direction. So there's this overall umbrella, if you will, in terms of the education and policy space. So I think that a lot of synergy we've been able to find in partnering with local communities is key in order to drive their strategic imperatives forward. So specifically to our Missouri network, where I serve as the portfolio manager, meaning my role is really to help guide high quality career programming within local communities, specifically represented through Jennings First, who started in 2016. And then with our support from our board member, Dave Stewart, through Worldwide Technology, we've been able to expand to 2 additional districts, second being University City, and then most recently in this last year, even during the pandemic, Ferguson Florissant School District. And so we're grateful for the partnership that we have with corporations who really are all in terms of building that, I'll say, skills workforce that will be able to drive local solutions. And so our continued partnership and support with Worldwide Technology has also lended itself for us to be able to partner with other companies such as KPMG and MasterCard to host what we call Future Ready Labs. And we've had those since 2018, where we provide summer group paid internships for high school students who are eligible. And these are very unique because these young people have an opportunity to actually work for these corporations and really showcase their skills that they're learning in the classroom, be mentored by folks who are working at those companies, and then produce an end product that they showcase at the end that gets feedback, and again, just helps them to refine and redefine their skills in their areas of interest. So we are really appreciative of also many companies that are represented on our regional advisory board, most locally Clayco and Darty Solutions, who again are really committed to helping to skill up young people and making sure that they have those essential skills that are necessary to be successful in their futures.
And Colleen, if you don't mind, kind of one thing to highlight that she mentioned is that these experiences are paid, and we are paying young people at those companies. And really and truly, the first time, it's a game changer when you're paid for your knowledge, which they are paid for their knowledge through these experiences. And we have the playbook. I know this seems kind of overwhelming. How do you do this? You have Worldwide Technologies and all these great companies. We have the playbooks to help communities build those relationships with the corporations, as well as how do you bring young people into the workforce, and what does that look like? What are some of the projects of value that they can do at Worldwide, at KPMG, and what does that look like? And Colleen mentioned that the refinement of their essential skills. We hear more and more from our corporations that we need young people who have those 21st century skill sets, that they think collaboratively, that they can communicate, not just on a text message. How do the writing and all the other essential skills that you need in the workforce? And the young people are getting these. They're getting these organically. They're getting them whenever they go into the business. And after they complete that internship, NAF has an internship assessment. And that's where the young person sits down with their supervisor. And really and truly, the first time that you get a 360, we know what life's like after you graduate college or wherever you are in the workplace, that you have to have a review. And can you imagine being able to be a high school student and get that first 360 and really find out what skills you need to refine? So we know that there's such value in this, and we've been talking on a policy level and looking at policy levers, if you will, to pull that your future ready credential, which is essentially that NAF track, and getting that is really something of value to a young person to say, Tiffany is future ready. She's ready to work in the workforce because her essential skills have been graded by someone outside of the classroom. So more to pull on that, but just some exciting things that come out of having that internship. Thanks, Colleen.
No, that was perfect. So to dive a little deeper in how this works, and we'll walk through the next few slides of how I will say, make this happen or partner with our communities to make this happen. The mission is clear, is that we want to be able to position our young people to have a future, I will say, that they can imagine, and they are in a space where they feel that they can succeed. So we do this by, again, partnering with high schools. Um, and I like to say, not overhauling what they're doing, but actually helping to give them a coherent strategy, as Najma mentioned earlier, on how we can make sure that the content that they're learning in their classroom is relevant. And again, providing those essential workplace skills that they'll need. And then we also give a playbook, as Tiffany mentioned. How do you partner with companies? Who needs to be at the table? What conversations can we have to find the problems that we essentially need to solve as it relates to our local workforce needs, as well as what areas of opportunity exist so that we can help to find solutions for those problems. And then we also support businesses and, again, playing an active role in shaping their workforce. So through our educational design, in our partnerships with our high schools, we take an environmental scan of what are those high demand careers or industries that you're looking to fill gaps in, or what are those areas that we have an opportunity to expose young people to, and how can we align what we are teaching in our building along with, I'll say, your district imperatives to ensure that there are synergy points at every piece to create meaningful programs as well as experiences, and that is a win-win on all sides. So our North Star is our educational design. Here on the screen, you'll see our 4 elements that are comprised of strategic actions that, through research, it says that when we complete these things to fidelity, we see increases in graduation rates. We see increases in students striving for opportunities beyond, that K-12 education. We see, a decreased rate in dropouts. We see an increase in students opting to, pursue careers or even, college education beyond high school. And so when we think about those pieces of the puzzle that we're putting together, I like to frame it as, we're helping to solve some of the educational and economic challenges that we have. I firmly believe that education is the root of everything. It's a gateway to opportunity. It's a gateway to building a more successful future. And so as we partner with our schools and local districts in implementing our NAF educational design, we have seen and continue to advocate for this proven and sustainable model that will drive student outcomes further. So I'm of the mind that, if we are centering work around a specific person, that's not sustainable. And what we know that through our educational design and through our partnership, and again, trying to build those systemic frameworks that are representative of the local community, we have something that's longstanding even beyond the person being there.
Is there anything else on the design you want to touch on? Maybe the advisory board?
Oh, sure thing. Yes, I can dive deeper into the advisory board piece. So specifically in our Missouri network, we are fortunate that the school district, they're all in. It is so exciting to be working within our Future Ready St. Louis network, because they actually have created a 2-pronged structure. Is that each of the districts have a local advisory board. So those persons or companies are involved in direct work-based learning activities. The schools have direct access to them. which is great. And then we also have a regional advisory board, and that is where many of our larger corporations sit and kind of house and help to provide large scale opportunities for all three of the districts. And so being and serving on an advisory board is very essential because one, we're able to see what the solves are in terms of the workforce needs of the community. But then also we're able to partner with our school districts and directly address some of those issues that they're having as it relates to activities that they're providing for young people, informing on curricula. How are they building sustainable models in terms of funding development? Are they involved in workforce development conversations? I mean, really, as we get everyone around the table and partner with our educators, we see a reciprocal exchange of needs at the site level, but then more than that, we're able to get a lot of solves within the community as we bring everyone to the table. So I keep plugging on the session that we heard this morning because I think all of us are coming off of a high of we all have, I'll say, our own vested interests, but I think being a multi-sectoral or cross-sectoral community, many of the challenges that we're facing, I'll say even locally, but as well as nationally, as we come together, we essentially see that we are trying to solve many of the same things. And so on the previous slide, you also saw that one of our critical elements is work-based learning. And this is where we believe the fusion of the career relevant education and practical application and opportunity are very key in a student's learning. And so we advise and guide in terms of a spectrum, if you will. So early on career awareness for a student may be, being able to shadow a professional or being able to have a guest speaking exchange. And then Tiffany referenced, full circle opportunity, being able to share those experiences or even glean more when they showcase their skill and actually have a project of value or complete that work experience through an internship. And so what we hope when we talk about work-based learning, that it's a progression and a sequence of activities that allows that student to have that early on exposure, at the granular level of, what does it mean to have a job? What are the industries that are available to me? What does the labor market look like? What is the job output? To that opportunity to interface with that professional on, interviewing skills, resume writing. Again, we're talking about a whole continuum of preparation experience that we hope that culminates in that paid internship, paid opportunity for that student to, one, be compensated for their work, because let's be honest, we all like money. Raise your hand if you don't like money. I don't think I see anyone's hand raised. And so they're the same. This is an opportunity for them to be paid for their skills, but then at the same time have that evaluative experience at the end so they know how to, I would say, refine their practice, and so that we are building on those foundational skills that they've gleaned in high school that will make them, a more productive employee in their future years. So I'm going to pause right there because I know I have probably shared a whole lot. There may be questions, there may be comments that you want to drop in the chat before I turn things back to Tiffany to talk more about our infrastructure and policy work.
I have a question.
Sure thing.
So what does this look like during the school day? Being in the after school network, I'm kind of wheels are turning, trying to figure out how this might be implemented in an after school program. But how does this look during a school day?
Sure thing. That's a great question. So programmatically, what this may look like during the school day on the side of the student is participation in a CTE or career themed pathway. It may also be, the opportunity to engage in cross-curricular projects. And so we, I'll say, suggest and strongly recommend that when we have educators within our network to not just teach these skills, if you will, in a silo. So I'm not hearing about workforce readiness or career preparedness just in my CTE course. There's a wraparound within at least 1 to 2 core subjects. Many of our network academies, they do it in all core subjects. So I'm hearing about it in my English class. I'm hearing about it in my science class as it relates to my academy theme. There also may be opportunities where our network leaders offer work-based learning activities during the day. So in this virtual space, what that may look like is a business partner, coming into my virtual classroom for fourth period and sharing with my students. Or based on availability, there may be some activities after school that student may be involved in as it relates to internship preparation, or being able to engage with those business partners as well.
And Erin, I'll highlight what Colleen said. Kind of those work-based learning experiences are certainly something that can happen in the after-school space where the students going to the workplace are getting that additional mentorship. One thing I want to highlight kind of overall is how our design works is if someone wants NAF in their community, how do we go into a community? Colleen highlighted, for the first time, we had worldwide technologies actually bring us to the table. So we can come in through business, we can come in through a school district. But with the ARP funding that is out, the U.S. Department of Education has issued guidance that career pathways and work-based learning are a way to combat learning loss. And I say that not only as, if you will, a selling point about NAF, but how Colleen talked about we help set the table. Right now, you can use those ARP fundings for the initial startup costs for NAF for that year of planning. That's that initial jet fuel that you need to get us on the ground. We do have a nominal fee, but that includes many of our districts use their Perkins funds to cover. It's about $2,000 annually, which is nothing to be a part of a network. And being part of a national network where you get national partners, but you can also hear from the rural communities in Florida, what they're doing, how they're trying to crack into getting their talent earlier and getting virtual experiences to rural areas, to hearing from folks in Detroit and what's going on there and how we're building so that national network. I just say all of that to put in your minds that with the funding that's there might be an opportunity for NAF to help within that after school space. It's not about NAF, it's about the community. We have the structure and supports that we can help you get on the ground. You go through a year of planning where someone like Colleen will come in and look at the curriculum, and we have curriculum. We partner with a ton of partners. So if you already have, say, an existing Project Lead the Way curriculum and you want to get some more cybersecurity and what does that look like, we have a very flexible design. This design can have several different components, but we know that when you have the advisory board and the work-based learning and all of that structure, that's when you're on full fidelity and your program is running with jet fuel, which is what Colleen has built in Jennings in our existing districts.
Tiffany. And then I was going to go to the chat really quickly.
Sure.
To Michelle's comment around, partnership with state pathways programs, and career centers and how we utilize the work-based learning continuum. That's an excellent question. So as Tiffany mentioned, when we come to partner with communities, we're very flexible in design. So with that being said, I like to lead with state governing and LEA agencies are priority. And so as we look at what state vetted curriculum should be offered in terms to generate funding, in terms of, be in alignment with local strategic imperatives, that is what we follow. So when we talk about the districts that we're in right now, Jennings, U City, and Ferguson Florissant, their pathways are and should be in direct alignment with the state CTE offerings. And so what that looks like in terms of their pathways is that they customize it based on local needs. If they want to infuse our local curriculum or our authored curriculum, if you will, that's perfect. But we have adopted a program of study model that, allows our districts to outline their course sequence in a way that is alignment with their state study. And then in terms of work-based learning experiences, when we think about a continuum, what we've seen is, the early stages of career development do start with those, I'll say, less intensive engagement. As a formal, high school counselor, ninth graders, They are a joy. I will say that. So when we think about them coming into high school, they've got a lot of things on their mind. So helping to direct their energy and their efforts is where we may start with those smaller engagements of, industry exposure and the opportunity to engage with professionals. And as they mature in their high school career over time, then we help to position them for those direct partner engagements, particularly as it relates to, job shadows, mock interviews, and internships. So that is a promising practice or best practice, if you will. We know that we certainly will have outliers and students that are, maturing early on and ready to engage as early as ninth or 10th grade. But typically, in terms of student development, we've seen those parallel as such. And then looks like more questions before I shift to Tiffany. What does the acronym NAF stand for? Oh, Tiffany, you already answered it. Yes, formerly National Academy Foundation, but now just NAF. Sweet, and direct and on target. So take it away, Tiffany.
Thanks, Colleen.
No problem.
So NAF issued in 2021, and it was in the link, and I'll certainly be happy to provide. In the fall, we did hold it up here, a policy paper on work-based learning, critical infrastructure for a future-ready workforce. Knowing infrastructure needs at the national, local, and state level, we were really thinking about how do we get this information out to more folks, because you're hearing the workforce education is just top of governor's mind, top of all leaders' minds. So how do we help that? And we know that NAF can help be a solution, as is work-based learning. We want more. You saw our footprint where I think our most recent data, we're closer to 120,000 students we serve. Our board wants us to serve 1 million. We don't need them all in NAF academies, but we need work-based learning out there for our workforce, for our future workforce. So this is just a kind of real quick. I know that team on the call knows what work-based learning is, and it's really that connection and getting the young people to see what it's like to be in the workforce. And if they see it, they can be it. And being able, when you're with the young people in there and go to the industry and you see them just like, oh, wow, this is what it's like. And they have, and explaining to them in their pre-internship time, no, you don't have to raise your hand to leave to go to the restroom, or you can go and do things on your own. So really giving them that personal agency and knowing that they're ready for the workforce, ready for, our tagline is be future ready, college ready, career ready, that they're ready because they've had those experiences. So we're calling on leaders to expand work-based learning. And here's kind of the key components that we know that COVID has disrupted everything, and especially in education and the workforce. How are we working from home? How are we learning from home? We know that a skilled workforce is what it's going to take to build our infrastructure problems. We know schools and districts must develop and support student pathways that are ready for real world knowledge and skills to lead to employment. And I would say to a self-sustaining wage, a family supporting wage, and employment. And we know that work-based learning is the way that this can happen. As we talked about earlier, the components of career awareness and different pathways and mock interviews, and really getting those organic opportunities to meet with professionals that supports young people building their social capital earlier. And we know that it's your social networks, and there's studies out that it's 80% of who you know that gets you your next job. So why not infuse that earlier for high school young people, that they can get to meet professionals earlier and be connected to them. Some of our recommendations, and I would love feedback and thoughts on this, is what policymakers, what we can call our state leaders and our national leaders to do, provide tax or other financial incentives. I'm actually located in the state of Florida, and working on, last year, they passed legislation that college interns, that the business can get a tax credit. Well, I've been talking to legislators and say, why don't you expand it to high school students? So a financial incentive for the company, so say KPMG, Worldwide Technologies, can get an incentive for hiring and paying those young people. How do you reduce the legal barriers? One thing we know is liability insurance, and there's several different ways, and depending on state, and we have lots of examples as to how this can be done in hiring young people. Some of our districts, for example, in Dallas, they use a third party that hires for some of our financial services institutions. So a staffing agency takes on the young person, short-term employment, and they're able to get paid, because that paid piece of this is really key and what sets that trajectory for young people. Define success metrics for work-based learning. One thing we're working on in the state of Texas is around Texas does A through F for their schools and their grading system. Work-based learning is something that should be a requirement for a young person, and let's have that as an accountability measure. So we know that that young person is coming out of that district employable. Again, kind of recognizing the metrics and graduation requirements, accountability measures, and how are we collecting that? And prioritize funding support for historically underserved communities and students. So are there ways to get, as I mentioned earlier, those ARP dollars, getting the startup cost and having that set your NAF Academy up, are using for our existing academies? Is there a way for more funding to help with the advisory boards? How do we make this a whole community effort to bring our young people the success that they deserve? So this I've kind of touched on throughout, why NAF is a smart public policy solution. We have the data. We have been around for over 40 years. And to the point, what does NAF stand for? Most people have not heard of us because we are what happens inside schools. So just as we don't talk about the Intel that's labeled inside of your computer, you talk about the Dell or the Mac you might have, we're happening inside the school to make sure that those students are successful. We know that building those essential skills, those 21st century power skills, and being ready for the workforce. We also know that we are having to prepare young people for careers that we don't even know that are out there and what's coming. But if you know how to collaborate and communicate and work on a team, that you will be future ready. So we ask that policymakers lead on work-based learning as an issue, that they fund strong programs, that this really supports a robust foundation, a robust foundation for educators. Within the NAF design, we have professional development and opportunities, and we've had several teachers who've also wanted teacher externships. So they go to a KPMG, they're our accounting teacher, and they work with someone in accounting, because the teacher is understanding what's happening inside, and NAF provides for those opportunities just as well. So I've said a lot. Are there any questions?
Yes, Tiffany, there's a question from Imani in the chat box. She is wanting to know, do you work with after-school programs directly or bypass them to work directly with the school district?
I would say, and Colleen, please pop in here. I would say certainly not bypass. We are happy to partner with folks that want to partner with us. We typically do have someone at the district that is helping to coordinate those work-based learning experiences. But I'm seeing now, why can't an after-school program coordinate those work-based learning experiences? If you're drawing down from students from the same district, and we have a train the trainer model, so we can help with that. Colleen?
Yeah, that's spot on, Tiffany. Certainly not a bypass. And the structure that we have locally is that we are in partnership with our district stakeholders, and they are responsible, are the gatekeepers, if you will, of the NAF academies, and certainly, help to support and lead many of the partnerships that they have in order to coordinate activities. And then in terms of professional development that Tiffany mentioned, someone like myself or someone internally, as it relates to a specific professional development need, may provide those opportunities, but through our train-the-trainer model, and we have some excellent leaders in the region right now who help to support the framework around NAF and ensuring that the fidelity is kept to the model, but then also to be an advocate within the community as well.
And Michelle, thanks for the awareness, exploration, and preparation. We do a lot of work in Michigan and certainly believe that the earlier students can get exposure to the workforce, the better off we all are. So again, just kind of touching on how we work with high schools and working with the workforce. And I will say we are hearing from our business partners, they realize that they need earlier access to the talent pipeline now more than ever. And how can they help get them up to speed and knowing that the students that are in the classrooms now are going to be the ones that are their future employees. We know that a young person who goes through NAF obtains valuable experience in their career pathways, but also in their community. And by having them engaged in the community to the point that they will be ready for the future of work. And also when the companies are local and the young people, they're getting their local talent versus having to find outside. And I also know when I talk to legislators, they certainly want their talent and their constituents to stay there. So being over 40 years old, our cornerstone is that public-private partnership. And we know that it's now more important than ever that we all work together to continue to build up our young people, get a skilled workforce, and that makes everyone better. So we, as I mentioned, I'm at work at the federal and state levels. We are advocating for future-ready skills for all students across the country, and we know how important it is for our 21st century workforce. We meet with school board leaders, educators, corporate partners, and policymakers to make sure that opportunities can happen, organic mentorship, social capital, all the things that I touched on earlier can be solved. So we're empowering high school students to unlock their full potential. We are shaping the future, and we believe that we are changing the world and making it a better place.
We have one last question. Well, not last, but another question from Amani. So does NAF look at jobs that are in high demand or only companies that volunteer to work with NAF?
Great question. We have really and truly, it's what's the high demand, high wage. And, you know, sometimes we have small nonprofits that also need talent. So it's where does that connection happen? Is it getting the young person the opportunity to find something that is that high demand job, or also something to rule out they may not want to do or go to college for? So I would say it's really and truly a mix of both, because as we see, there's a talent shortage. I saw a quote, the world is understaffed. So we know that offering exposure to a wide variety is out there. I know that's kind of a roundabout answer, but we believe that, you know, as many opportunities that we can offer young people is important. Colleen?
No, absolutely. And that's part of our, I'll say, programmatic framework, is that when we go through that initial year of planning, or even for our academies who've been long established with us for a long time, it's a local solve, right? So we take an environmental scan of what are the careers or what are the local workforce needs. And it's so important that we have that cross-sectoral group at the table to be able to inform on what are the opportunities and where are the areas that, you know, we can take a look and amplify or bring some opportunities. So candidly speaking, you know, in our work now, we're looking locally in the kind of geospatial tech space, and how can we get some folks, you know, around the table to be able to expose our educators and our young people, excuse me, to what is seemingly becoming an in-demand or a need that the young people, you know, can have an opportunity to work in, learn about, or rule out. Because, you know, this is about, how do I say, this is not about prescribing or, you know, dictating their destiny, but this is giving them all the awareness, all of the information, all of the opportunities, so they can, you know, make an informed decision on the trajectory of their next steps in their future.
In Orlando, Great question around areas of support needed to prepare K-8 students for these opportunities. I think it goes back to the preparation, understanding of careers. There's a lot of different curricula and supports out there, just where they're taking, the basic Myers-Briggs, if you will, kind of where your strengths and opportunities for improvement are, and what is that like, and how does that fit in a career? I think just the earlier exposure and ideas that a young person might have whenever they come to a 9th grade NAF academy or a 10th grade academy, we can fit into a 9 through 12 model or 10 through 12, depending on how the district is set up and what that looks like. So just early exposure, I think that benefits all of us. Do we pay someone at the school to coordinate? No, we work with existing, as Colleen talked about earlier with that design, we sat down with the existing teachers. There are models that have you folks that from the chamber that are their work-based learning coordinators. Some districts pay consultants to help be that work-based learning coordinator. There's a wide variety, but you will get wraparound supports from NAF, but not a NAF person that is sitting at the district. We use the existing staff.
Thanks for the presentation. I'm Natalie Hampton, the policy coordinator for Missouri After School Network. And Mark had asked me to make sure I introduce myself, Tiffany, and we're looking forward to visiting with you more. Is there any legislation that you all are keeping an eye on right now in Missouri? Or any policies? And I apologize, I missed a few minutes.
No, let's see. Not right now. I'm happy to partner with you and see if there's anything where we could support or what that might look like for potential NAF academies. If there's some workforce bills, I know you do have a governor and a legislature that seems very honed in on workforce education and how we can help amplify that. Would be happy and definitely looking forward to our discussion. I'll say on the national level, we have been talking, we have an appropriation that has passed the House out of the Department of Labor budget to Amani's question earlier for a work-based learning coordinator. So through the Department of Labor education and training allotment, we have said that if you really want to help LEAs, cities, communities to build future workforces, you need a coordinator. So we've suggested a small threshold and what dollars are out there for about $5 million. It will go through an RFP process. We're hopeful that it will pass the Senate. So we'll keep all of our districts apprised of that. We are also looking at the WIOA reauthorization and what that might look like, seeing that there's some potential around flexibility within the dollar amount as the way the grant is broken up for out of school and in-school youth. We believe that if you can provide more wraparound supports for in-school youth, you're going to get them before they drop out. So what does that look like? But I very much would welcome an opportunity to explore some more state opportunities with you, being that we have 34 states. There's me and one other policy analyst. I love when people can bring stuff to me and see how we can engage and collaborate and make more opportunities for students.
We'll look forward to visiting more.
Any other questions or comments, thoughts, feedback?
I just will make a comment. It sounds like an amazing program, and I'm honestly surprised we don't have more school districts and parts of the state taking advantage of it.
Well, this is where I really feel, Nat, to your question, if we can get districts to look at NAF as a solution for the learning loss, how do we get in there and the initial startup costs to help them bring the academy? We would welcome more opportunities. I believe Michelle dropped something in around Tennessee. Colleen also manages, we have a great footprint in Tennessee. So again, back to having kind of a national network to bring to the table. But yeah, Aaron, we would welcome more opportunities, and maybe that is it looking at what are their budget opportunities. We know, right now there is funding. So how can we use that? And we don't want to just come in and build a NAF Academy, but you have to have all the supports to make it true fidelity and to make it work. So we need to know that there will be commitment from the community. So getting that advisory board set up, saying we know that in 3 years, whenever we have those juniors, we're going to be able to offer 25 paid internships. So we will lay that out with the community to make sure that there's going to be fidelity to the model, because we don't want, not only for NAF, but certainly not for the community, to come in and start up something and for it not to be successful. We're a long-term program. We need 4 years, and that's one thing businesses understand as well. I know that I need that 9th grader yesterday to be working for me, but if I can get to them now, that's the through line. Colleen, we'll drop our info in the chat. Please I know they were so great on social and putting stuff out. Feel free to reach out anytime. We're happy to continue the conversations. Thanks for what all you do and providing after school opportunities for young people. And this was just exciting to meet everyone. And thanks for hopping on. Kay, is there anything else?
Well, thank you both for such a powerful information to share with Missouri. Looking forward to working with you both. No, but thanks everyone for joining. If there's no more questions or comments, if you please will complete a evaluation that Lena, will you put that link in the chat box? And please meet us at 11:40, I believe, for our lunch and learn. 2:20 will be presenting. But thank you both so much.
Thank you.